Now, when it comes to the white man's hegemony, I'm like, we can't give the white man make him more powerful than he actually is. Yes, I'm like, he decimated the Native Americans, but they still have their culture. There's still Navajos that know their native language before the white man, stepped on this continent. They still know some of their culture is written in books. It hasn't completely gone away. Same way with the Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? The Spanish, which Spanish are white people, they did a number on the Mexicans. That's the reason why they speak a Latin language, and why they converted to Catholicism is because of the Europeans. But as far as the way the Mexicans look, they still, it wasn't like white people just came to Mexico and Mexico's and our South America's dominated by white people. Yes, their culture, their language and their religion, but the way that people, physically look, they look the same as they did before the white man, conquered their territory. And there's still a lot of South Americans that know their culture. There's a small group of Mexicans that know their language before the Spanish arrived. Their mythologies and so forth. But the same thing with blacks here in America. As I said before, if we had this stronghold here, we would have been smart enough to pick the white man off before he hit the shores. He wouldn't destroy us. If anything, we would have retracted and we said, okay, you guys win, but let us just sit on some reservations, because that's what the Native Americans did. That's why the Navajo Indians, which I don't know, I think it's the Navajo, it could be wrong. Some Native American tribe has recently got $550 million. So why hasn't black people done that? Why haven't we reached out and said, hey man, we got to sue the U.S. government. We got to get something. We got to get some sort of compensation for what we've been through. But we haven't, because we've completely lost, because we're off that slave boat. The thing is with the societies, when it comes to slavery, and why slavery was so productive, so lucrative for white people in this country, is the fact that in most other nations, empires, Rome and Egypt, they got their slaves from somewhere else. It's hard to enslave people on land that they're indigenous to. It may work out, but not for the long haul. Eventually, it's going to cause too much problems, because these people know the land better than you do, and a lot of times people, death before dishonor. They will kill themselves, before they just succumb to the circumstances. So the white man may get them to build a tower for him or build some sort of fort for him, but it won't, it won't last. Slavery here in America was so successful, and the same way in Rome and Egypt, is because they got their slaves from somewhere else. They got them from some other land and brought them to another land. Like the Romans, they used a lot of the Germanic warriors or whatever, or them barbarians that was running around in Europe in caves, grabbed their asses, took them to Rome. Now, of course, a slave in Rome could, if he works his ass off, he can get his freedom and he can become a Roman citizen. Just like in Egypt. If they grab a slave from somewhere else, and this slave, he does his thing for 7 years, and he can become a citizen of Egypt and have the same rights and respects as the rest of the Egyptians. But with America is that once we were free from slaves, we still did, because America, you had the color thing. And Rome and Egypt didn't have that. They didn't have that strong. They didn't have the concept of race. Because it's ridiculous. So that's the thing, and so therefore, the reason why blacks are so easily exploited and manipulated in this country, because the blacks we see, I know I'm repeating myself, running around they weren't indigenous. Whatever blacks that were doing something, either they, they were vanquished, or they moved on somewhere else. That's why we're so confused. That's why even though the white man crushed the Native Americans, he didn't really completely destroy their heritage. You know, the feathers and their dances, they're still alive in some places. As for us, we don't know what we are, because that's what we're. And the thing is, when it comes to Africans, when people may look at Africans like, well, they look different. Well, in Africa, depending on what region you're at, the people do have different facial structures. People in Kenya sort of look different than people from Sudan and so forth. You know, people in Ethiopia will look different than the people from the Ivory Coast. And, you know what I'm saying, and so forth. And, you know, we may look at an African like Nelson Mandela, which, yeah, I don't see too many black men here in America that look like Nelson Mandela, but, you know, you have more, you know what I'm saying, lack of a better term, pure breeds. But if you want to see Africans that kind of look like black people in America or somewhat close, you have to look at the ports. You know, I mean, the slave ports. Where they, you know, it wasn't like the white man cast this giant net over all of Africa. He only went to certain places. Africans have more bragging rights because there's certain places the white man can't go. They weren't playing at. You know, they were going to kill them. Specifically, and the Arabs. The Arabs was heavily involved in the slave trade. Specifically, especially the Zimba tribe, the Zinda. You know, tribe. You know what I'm saying? They were vicious. They had ironworks weapons. You know, they killed people that went in their territory. There's certain places in Africa they didn't, you know, and that's the thing. You know, you're talking about, I'm like, take the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers here in America, they're cool, I give them props. But they were nothing like the Mau Maus. The Mau Maus were going up in white people's houses and cutting them up with machetes. Kids too. And that's what you're supposed to do. Like, they were on your land. That's what blacks here in America, we wasn't doing that. They were doing, you had wars in Angola. They wasn't trying to hold hands and this and that. They were, if they got some weapons, they were using them. No disrespect to the Black Panthers, but a lot of times they were holding their guns. The black people in Angola, when they had guns, they were using them. They seen a white person, they pick them off. You know, and really after World War I, during World War II, and after World War II, that's when you had the race from Africa. The Europeans was colonizing Africa like it was no tomorrow. Europeans had their technology game, you know, was on point, and then with their diseases they were spreading. And so when the Africans wanted to kick the white man out of his country, he had to do it by force. You know, all that. You know, and South Africa was different, since South Africa, the white man had a strong foothold because of the resources. And the Afrikanos, the Boers, had helps from America and Russia's technology. Notice, once America, because America was a part of the apartheid in South Africa too, they had investments there. Once America withdrew because of public pressure, South Africa, it weakened. So the reason why apartheid was let down, the walls of apartheid came crumbling, because just certain factions like America withdrew from South Africa and went against the Boers, you know. So I guess the South Africans felt that they were betrayed by America. Like, damn, you invested and you had our backs, and now because of public pressure or whatever, you know, that now you guys want to withdraw. Okay, fuck you guys. And that's the thing. That was the reason why. And they had Russian military there. They had, you know what I'm saying, Russian artillery. They had helicopters. More so than other places where Europeans was holding on. They didn't have that sort of, and South Africa was located on the coast. So there's geographical attributes of why, you know what I'm saying, with South Africa, you had kind of non-violent protests there in South Africa, you know, to get the white man out. And as in other places, you know, they was cocking that barrel. You know, and here in America, we don't do. Here in America, when black people riot and tear up stores for sneakers, we're like, oh, look at black people. Well, look at black people. They're tearing up their neighborhoods. I'm like, man, bullshit. Shit is not real until white people wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with a machete to their throat. That's when it gets real. You know what I'm saying? Looting some fucking sneaker, Foot Locker, that ain't shit. You know what I mean? You gotta understand how nations are built. You know, you gotta look at it from a microcosmic standpoint. And going into the whole sports thing, oh, black people, we're good at sports. You know, the white man's sports. But when you look at something like soccer, think about an African team winning the World Cup. And then, bringing it back to their nation, as opposed to a black basketball team, a team that predominantly black players winning the championship, but for Los Angeles or Phoenix or Chicago, but black people are still in their same position while the white team owners and their families benefit from it. So it's like, but that's all I want to say. Thanks for watching and solid forth.